It's been 1 year with the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max, two phones that I've used the most throughout 2023, and if I'm being completely honest, it's been kind of this love-hate relationship so far. And I say that with the full understanding that smartphones in general, in terms of what they bring to the table, have in many ways peaked, especially for the iPhone, which, let's face it, has kind of been the same for a long time now. But even with that perspective in mind, there are a lot of things that I've really enjoyed about the 14 Pro that makes this a great phone to use every day. But 1 year later, there have been some issues that I've noticed that has made this one of the most problematic iPhones I've experienced compared to the others. And with Apple recently announcing the iPhone 15 lineup, which are all coming in on Friday by the way, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on those, I thought it'd be a good time to revisit the 14 Pro to really see how it's held up over the past 12 months. So the first thing about the 14 Pro that I've really enjoyed 1 year later, and trigger warning because this is going to irk some people, I'm just going to say it, Dynamic Island is a good feature and I'm glad that Apple brought it to the iPhone. Now before some of you get at me in the comments, yes, I realize it's a pretty basic feature and this isn't groundbreaking stuff. I agree with you, so ease off the smoke for a second and just hear me out. What you all have to understand is that it's the little things that Apple does really well, and Dynamic Island is a perfect example of that. Dynamic Island has served as a great multitasking tool within iOS that I've used surprisingly a lot more than I thought I would. Apps that could utilize this feature automatically retract into the island to not only provide some useful information or some visuals, you can also just click on it to open up the app for quick access. Yes, it's basic, and yes, it's not something revolutionary, but a lot of the apps that take advantage of Dynamic Islands are the ones that you're more likely needing to jump back into rather quickly, so it's surprisingly useful. For example, I use this timer app a lot when I work out, and I love that I could just tap on the island to quickly enable and disable it as I need. It's way faster this way. Plus, Dynamic Island can support up to 2 apps. I always have music on when I'm working out, so it's pretty fantastic that I can jump between the timer and Amazon Music with such ease. And look, you could call me superficial, but I stand firm in saying that the animations associated with Dynamic Island are superb. It's so well executed. The way the apps swoop up inside the island totally reminds me of the Genie effect on macOS, and I love how it seamlessly expands and shrinks with this very subtle bounce. It's a minor detail, but it does make a difference to the user experience. At the end of the day, I think it was pretty gutsy to take what has always been an area of the phone that most manufacturers don't want you to focus on and make it the focal point of your newest feature that users are going to interact with quite frequently. It's creative, well executed, and I'm not surprised Apple has now made Dynamic Island a feature on all future iPhones. So the iPhone 14 Pro, generally speaking, has performed really well over the past 12 months, which honestly shouldn't be too surprising given the track record that this phone has, so it's not something I'd consider out of the ordinary. But to highlight some of the areas of performance that have really stood out, number one, gotta still say that ProMotion is still my favorite high refresh rate implementation on any phone, period. Navigating around the iPhone 14 Pro is silky smooth without any hiccups or throttling and effective on every app that I use. Again, nothing new, but still very much appreciated and something I wanted to take note of. Number two, the cameras on the iPhone 14 Pro are fantastic, probably the best overall camera suite on any smartphone throughout 2023. Still images on any of the 4 cameras all exude excellent sharpness and colors and really good consistency even in tough shooting environments. Kind of an underrated feature has been the new 2x focal length that takes advantage of the larger main sensor to give you a very useful zoom without the expensive quality. But the real gold with the iPhone 14 Pro's cameras has got to be the video quality. Apple continues to completely crush the competition here and it's not even close. The 4K footage is unbelievably good for a smartphone camera. It's sharp, color accurate, and vibrant, and the dynamic range is extraordinary. And I've said this a lot lately, video has become a primary way in which people share and communicate these days, so video quality on phones I feel is more important than ever before. The iPhone is the only phone that I'll use as a backup cam for the videos that I make on this channel. It's so easy to use and the footage is honestly better in some cases, like when I'm filming inside a car. It's by far the area of the 14 Pro that has been the most useful from a utility standpoint and a feature that I've definitely come reliant on. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows with the 14 Pro. There are definitely some things about this phone that bothered me over the past 12 months, and let's start with the design. Now to be fair, this is really an iPhone 12 and beyond problem. If you all remember, the iPhone 12 was the phone that ushered in this industrial aesthetic with this leveled out front and back and completely flat frame. I think this form factor makes for a really clean look, especially with the 14 Pro. Its frosted glass on the back paired with the stainless steel frame makes for one of the most premium looks on a smartphone to date. But the issue is this, the 14 Pro and especially the 14 Pro Max are really heavy phones and they become fatiguing to hold after extended use. And because the frame has no curves, you have to grip it tighter to ensure that it doesn't fall out of your hand, and the sharpness of the stainless steel frame kind of starts digging into your palm a bit. So as pretty as this phone looks, it's not the most comfortable phone in the world, and I'm actually really excited that the new iPhone 15 Pro will be using titanium, which should reduce the weight of this phone considerably. And even though Apple didn't really talk about it, it seems as as though there is a slightly angled curve on the 15 Pro's frame, which I'm hoping makes it easier for your hand to wrap around it, which should help with the overall comfort. But the most glaring issue that I've been dealing with is something that I'm not alone in. Word is out, many people are struggling with this right now, and here of course I'm talking about the 14 Pro's battery. There's really two things going on here. Number one, the overall battery life on the 14 Pro Max that I've been using has not been anywhere near as good as what I got on the 13 Pro Max, which did amazing. Truly one of the best phones I've experienced when it comes to battery life. Now yes, I could still make it through a full day of moderate use on the 14 Pro, but dude, it can get pretty sporty by the time I plug in at night. And what's weird is that I don't think my screen on time has increased since the prior year, definitely not to the point where I would expect this much of a difference. It honestly just feels like my battery is draining faster from normal day-to-day use. And I've tried everything to make this better. I turned off the always on display, I've closed out apps I wasn't using anymore, but nothing really seems to work. Now I know that benchmarking against the 13 Pro's performances may be unfair given how well that phone did, but the difference is something that is a lot more noticeable than I thought it would be. Now if it ended there, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but the second part of this battery issue has to deal with the overall battery health. I've been reviewing iPhones for many years, and this is by far the worst and fastest degradation of battery health I've seen on any iPhone. Take for example my beloved iPhone 13 mini, the phone that I used the most in 2022. After more than a year of use, the battery health was still at 100%. And generally speaking, I don't think I've ever seen my battery health go lower than 97% after 12 months of use on any iPhone I've tested, which makes the battery health on my 14 Pro Max that much more jarring. And before you all ask, I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary when it comes to my charging habits. I don't overdo it with the fast charging, and I've had optimized charging set up since the phone came out of the box. The degradation is so bad, I kid you not, I lost 2% of my battery health in just 2 weeks. I posted this tweet on August 13th when my battery health was at 93%, and when I checked on it on August 30th, it was down to 91. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's clear that I'm not the only one dealing with this issue. Many tech publications have come out indicating that a multitude of users are experiencing way faster reductions in battery health. I'm really hoping that Apple quietly address this issue with the 15 Pro lineup. Great battery life is one of the main reasons why people will pony up the extra dollars to go with the Pro and the Pro Max. It's really disappointing to have seen this area of the phone do so poorly over the past 12 months. So at the end of the day, I gotta keep it straight up. The 14 Pro is not one of my favorites. It is good at certain things, but kind of disappoints with the fundamentals, which is weird because it's very unlike Apple. So if you're holding an older iPhone and think this might be a good time to upgrade and you're considering the 14 Pro, I would highly recommend you either go with the 13 Pro instead or wait and see what the initial take is on the new 15 Pro. If I'm being completely honest, off the rip based on looks alone, I'm kind of disappointed with the 15 Pro. It's a lot more incremental of an upgrade than what I was expecting. I'm hoping I'm wrong though. I'm really gonna need to get the phone in my hands to give it a spin before I make any final judgments. But do me a favor, let me know in the comments what your experience has been like with the 14 Pro or the 14 Pro Max if you have one. I'm curious to see if it's been problematic for you or if it's been a seamless, great experience. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on the iPhone 15 videos that are coming out real soon, which is really exciting. Check out these videos if you're looking for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.